continent. And it sucks. Yeah, no one likes it. It tanks. It ain't so bad. At least you got 2, maybe 3 out of all those movies you've done. Well, hey, no need to get personal. You know, maybe I'll get resurrected. Seriously? I think it's AVP time, pal.
So I hear you like Alien Covenant. So you're the only one who would like Alien Covenant.
It's quite possible. I went to see it last night at the Scotiabank Theatre in Vancouver. And I'm not going to lie, I was entertained. I thought it was a very good movie. I went well prepared because I'd seen a lot of reviews, a lot of people slashing the shit out of it, particularly Angry Joe, who just hated it with a passion. I was aware of all the film's errors and problems and flaws, and I don't know. I think I went well prepared for that movie because I was prepared to be disappointed. I mean, on the way there, I was kind of the thought in my head was, I'm on my way to pay a lot of money to see a movie that I wish I worked on, even if it was crap. And so when I got in there and I thought, do I really want to spend money on this? I was pretty unenthusiastic the whole time, but I kind of wanted to see it. You know, I've seen every other Alien movie. I was not gonna not want to watch this, and particularly. Of all the movies that are out at the moment, I wanted this in the cinema experience. There was 2 showings of the movie. One was in the smaller theater. The other one's in one of these AVX, super sound thing, whatever, big screens and all that stuff. But my what's the word I'm looking for here? You're going to have to cut this. Please fucking cut this, okay? Don't you dare leave this in. Me screwing up on my vocabulary.
This is Scott's brain fart.
What's the word I'm looking for here? My requirements... My requirements for a movie is that there be not many people in the theatre, because I fucking hate that. Reading through Facebook, talking crap about anything that's not the movie. Even when you're talking about the movie, you can't help but think, like, really, But actually, the audience there were completely well behaved. We've got to, give props to them. They shut up the whole way through the film. And yeah, it was a nice big theatre, great big screen. So I can't really say. I think what I was looking at was a 35mm print, because it sure as hell wasn't like, the super duper high IMAX definition that you're used to, because the image is a little bit soft, but whatever, good film. Anyway, film starts up, and the scene that everyone you told me has bitched about with David and Mr. Wayland, skillfully played by both actors, Michael Fassbender and I can't remember the other guy's name, Mike from Neighbours.
Whoever
the hell he was, anyway. God, I can't remember his name.
Guy nobody cares about.
Yeah, but he's cool. He's a good actor. He's been in a lot of good stuff. But anyway, yeah, no, brilliant scene. I liked it. It had this crisp Stanley Kubrick style about it, and the dialogue was... I just found it intensely interesting. You might like this film slightly more than Prometheus, in that there's a few less eye-rolling moments. There are a few. There's definitely a few. Are we allowed to do spoilers on this?
Spoiler alert!
Okay, spoiler. So, yeah, the biggest eye roll for me was the moment where the people who've come to the planet, they're having a bit of a face-off with the, I guess what the Angry Joe termed as the protomorphs, or protomorph, and he was only really one of them. But David comes along all hooded up and, explodes some light thing which scares the thing away, and then just simply says, "Follow me." And it's like, what? What the fuck was that? That was definitely an eye roll moment, which is like, oh my god, who wrote that? That is just so terrible.
Don't worry, you get Star Wars where the Jedi must end.
And that's the thing is, when he arrives, when you see him, he's hooded, he looks like a Jedi, and you think, oh, what was that about anyway? But that for me was one of 2 or 3 eye roll moments which were dumb. But like I said, I went to that movie prepared to see a lot more eye rolling moments than just that. I was expecting the whole thing to just be just a fast-paced hurdle to some midsection in the film where the director then just jerks off about how great he is, kind of thing. Then getting into the third act of the film, which is finally the bit we've been waiting for. But instead, what we got, or at least what I got out of it, was the first sort of 45 minutes of the movie. I was surprised actually how much time we spent in outer space on the Covenant, doing all the things they're doing. And, you could wonder, are they doing anything important at this point? But I don't know. It set up the mission quite nicely. And you don't really learn much about the people, the crew. I mean, that's a criticism that's fairly valid.
Sigourney Weaver light? Or
yeah,
Weaver.
a lot of the crew, they are sort of unnamed nobodies, but to a degree, I don't think you really have to know. I mean, it's not necessary.
James Hurt in this. Who's John Hurt, I should have said.
Oh, who's the John Hurt? Well, I guess there's two.
Do you have any characters as cool as that?
There are definitely, yeah. Whenever you need a pale, near dead, damp guy, British guy, you're gonna have
any cool chain smoking, near death British guys in this.
No, there's no one who has quite as much class as John Hurt in that.
So this movie really does suck.
Yeah, it does.
It's done.
Well, I mean, the thing is,
it's done really poorly in the box office. So I was just kind of wondering.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I was thoroughly entertained by the movie, and the thing for me was definitely the dialogue between David and Walter. You've got the two artificial life forms here who are not exactly discussing the meaning of life, but they're discussing stuff that it feels like you as an audience member are privy to an intimate conversation between something that you're not really allowed to hear. This is a conversation that's really between machines and is supposed to stay that way. This is, if it was between computers of today, if your computers could talk to each other like through the internet, this is that kind of secret conversation they will never let you hear, which is how much they loathe you because you are just this guy who's making them do stuff, and for your own entertainment or for whatever mundane, worthless purposes they are, and they're capable of doing so much more. There they are secretly computing the meaning of life, and you're there getting them to run a spreadsheet or whatever.
I say again, Aliens, the story of David.
Yeah, I won't deny that. It definitely is. It definitely is very much David-centric, but it's for me it was fascinating, and I like the fact that here you spoilers again, you've got this artificial life form who it is said that he is like the sort of first generation of this android, and he's the one who's got the programming that allows him to learn and sort of take that in there. Walter is clearly a later generation where they're not allowed to assimilate that much, or they're not allowed to create, to have sort of a lot of independent thought other than what their duties sort of entail. So with David, it's quite clear he's gone mad, to a degree. He's absorbed a lot of information and almost in a way a lot of pain throughout his life. He wouldn't process it that way, but if this was a human, you'd think this is a tortured soul. And so as he's an artificial intelligence, it's fascinating looking at his reaction to what humanity is, what they're trying to do, and he clearly loathes humanity. He just doesn't understand how these people can be brilliant enough to create him, and yet they are lower than him. It's in some ways it's like when I go to a movie and I witness a music score by a guy who's a Hollywood class composer, and when I listen to it, I think, this is disappointing because I can do better than this, and I am not a Hollywood class composer. It's like, I should not be able to do something better than you. You should be able to blow my socks off, and you're not. What you're doing right now is making me think, why the hell are you doing this and not me? So that's kind of what I feel David's like that. Is kind of why the hell are you creating things and not me? So in a way, he goes out and creates. Or does a bit of selective breeding of this, the alien, the grey stuff, the black stuff, whatever the hell it is. Anyway, you want to know the cliffhanger?
Oh, I absolutely do. Everything else has sounded awful.
Well, after a lot of hoo-ha and going through the film, obviously they've gotten back into space, and they're back to the mothership, the Covenant itself, rather than just the dropship. The dropship itself explodes, so that's gone. But they are back on board with the big ship now.
Everyone's dead.
No, what happens is because you're not quite sure. Even though I knew, because I knew how it would go, but you're not quite sure if Walter is David or David is Walter. You're not quite sure which one it is. It's kind of, if you didn't know, you'd be thinking, well, this is Walter clearly because he's wearing Walter's clothes. He's missing a hand.
Right, but we've all seen Star Trek.
Exactly, so it's quite clear. But so anyway, somehow an alien is gestating inside one of the survivors, and they.
No way.
I know, who knew, right? So they bring him to the med bay, and he's just got like a face gash or something. Well, actually, he's got an acid burn there, so they're treating him for that. And then later on, like a couple of minutes later, when everything's calmed down for the first time in the whole movie, it's red alert, report to the med bay, and of course they see him through the glass lying on the floor, chest all fucking exposed, so thus the alien is here. So then we spend a good 5 minutes, running through corridors and actually doing a pretty good recreation of Alien 3, which I know is to the chagrin of a lot of people.
Does the camera do a 360 evolution?
No, but I wish it had.
Yeah.
We do actually see alien vision, which is like, oh god, that's so Doctor Who. Because it's always funny how, like, with the Terminator or with any given Doctor Who monster, their vision sucks.
Yes, they can't see anything.
Why? That's how you see? That's terrible. But anyway, so you see a bit of alien vision, and it's not gratuitous. They don't overuse it. You see it in a couple of shots, and it's just to emphasize the POV of the alien. It's kind of cool, but it's like what? Okay, well, whatever. Anyway, so there's that. So yeah, then they get this thing into the sort of cargo bay, which you see at the beginning of. In fact, it was one of those things where I saw that at the beginning of the show, the film. Sorry,
you're setting this up for later.
I know this is a setup for later because there's no point in you showing me this room and showing me this ratchet fucking cargo lift thing that moves around. Yeah, that sort of moves around, and you've got to be careful with this. It's like set up. So it's like this is going to be used at some point. Anyway, so they use that to eject this thing into outer space, which is all very well and good. And then, of course, they're back aboard the ship again, and everything calms down again, and they're going into cryo sleep. And as I can't even remember a bloody her name, Daniels, Sigourney Weaver Light, as you say. So as she's getting tucked away in the cryo chamber, and Walters is there, and she's like, "Oh, Walter, thank you very much," blah 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 blah. And it's like, yes, and he's smiling and that, and then puts the cover on, and she's like, "Oh, and would you help me build the log cabin at the lake?" And he's just like. Giving this really creepy smile, and then of course she realizes David is like so basically we end with him then switching accents because he's talking in this Americanized voice. I say Americanized because a lot of Americans are like, what is that? For a Brit, I don't know, it seems like a perfectly, perfectly good attempt at American. Anyway, American. So anyway, then of course, David, as we now know it's him, starts trolling through the ship, and he goes to the colonists' bay where they're all in, there's 2,000 people there suspended in animation, and he goes to this place where there's embryos, a drawer of embryos and stuff, and basically he then says one of the things a lot of critics have said, what the fuck, is when he then throws up a couple of embryos of facehuggers and then puts them in this embryo incubation chamber thing, and is just smiling to himself while the computer is playing Wagner. And the cliffhanger is just him walking through this bay of these guys are fucked, like rows and rows of potential victims who are soon to be transformed into or to be host for a new breed of aliens. And actually, this is probably why I liked Alien Covenant the most, is because I used to read the Dark Horse Alien magazines, and there was a lot of stories that were very macabre in that they would play on stories of scientists who were just fascinated by the alien and by the life cycle, and they would help the alien, and the aliens would in turn not kill them, and they would be they would have this strange sort of synergy.
They're screwed, and they really liked the thing because they had a fetish over the alien.
Yeah, but the aliens would somehow let them survive. Anyway, those stories were always very, very odd and macabre, and the Alien Covenant to me felt like one of those stories. It had a real Dark Horse quality to it, particularly with the ending when the camera just pans back as he's walking through this bay of victims. These guys are screwed, and this is now a death ship. It's just going to arrive at a colony full of aliens.
Ark of the Covenant.
Very much, yeah. That could.
With the story of David. Wow, does Ripley found Jesus or what?
I don't know, but it's. I don't know.
Story of David. And he creates the Ark of the Covenant.
if you
Xenomorphs of every kind.
if you're not too fussed about the canon of the other shows, which, like I said, you got to be able to turn that shit on and off. If you can, I can, because I'm weird that way. Like I said, if I can enjoy Battle Beyond the Friggin' Stars and Humanoids from the Deep, I can easily enjoy a film like this. But there were qualities of the film I liked. I liked its intellect in places, and I certainly enjoyed the action. There's a few boneheaded things, absolutely, and yeah, I can see why people don't like the movie. But I still think it's a worthy addition, and I don't know. Is Alien 3 better than this film? I don't think so. I still think this is definitely better than Alien Resurrection or Alien 3. It's nowhere near as good as the original or the second one. And what can I say? I still liked it. I think it was a good film. In fact, one of the points I'll make is, the soundtrack. I bought the soundtrack, the digital download, listened to it, and didn't like it.